Alright everyone, welcome back to another TA episode on Green Satoshi token. If you're new to the channel, warm welcome. Let's jump right into today's video. What we're going to be talking about is how Green Satoshi token is performing against both the US dollar pair and the Bitcoin pair in both the short term and the long term. We're also going to be talking about the Bitcoin dominance, and we're going to be talking about how our prediction from yesterday panned out. Let's jump right into this. So yesterday we were sitting at around 82 cents, and I was saying that I believe we're going to move all the way down to this M pattern breakdown at 62 cent. The reason why we thought 62 cent is because you can see we have this big M pattern. I've drawn it from the candle body close, but you can see right here, big old M pattern. The breakdown of this would be all the way down here at 62 cents, 62 to 63 cent, moreover on 63 cent, and we were predicting a 23.5% drop, and since then we went down 22.4%. So we literally almost hit the nail on the head. It looks like we found support just before our green box, and basically this green box, the start of this is the M pattern breakdown. We also have this green box encompassing if we do come back down to this trend line, and we've also got the bottom of this being around the 2.618 fib and the 3.618 fib. So these are more of our macro targets, and I'm still panning out that we're going to go down to these lower prices, but in the short term at least, like I said, we basically hit the nail on the head with this trade, so I'm going to delete this off the chart. We've basically hit the pattern of the M target, so I will clean this up also. But what you can see is we've actually had a fairly decent influx of volume over on Hyobi in the past 4, 8, 12. In the past 16 hours, we've got 4 green candles in a row, and this has managed to pump us all the way up from 63 cent all the way up to basically 78 cent. While doing so, we came up to our first fib here, where you can see from this low, we pumped up, we perfectly came down and back tested our 618, and we kept on moving up. So extrapolating this fib over, from the macro top here, 0.5 Fibonacci, and now we're heading up. So I really do like this chart setup we're seeing over on Green Satoshi token. I really do like what we're seeing in the short term. However, I absolutely have to differentiate between the short term and the long term, because if you've been watching my Green Satoshi token videos, I've literally been calling for lower price targets on this since, where were we? I mean, I think we flipped bearish somewhere around about 370 when we broke down from this accumulation range, but I've been calling for lower price targets for a very, very long time, and basically the past couple of videos, especially since here, when we came up to, when we were at 120, we were basically sitting at around $1, and within, I believe it was 2 1-hourly candles, but this is obviously on the 4-hour, we pumped all the way up to $2. A lot of people were getting hyped up, but you come over to the daily and you can see all we did is pump up to the 13 EMA, confirm it as resistance, just as we did when we collided with it at $2.90, and then had a mass capitulation. So I still do think that Green Satoshi token is going down in the macro term, but the macro term doesn't necessarily have to correlate to what I believe is going to be happening in the short term, because I do think, while it is not exactly a exciting rally, I do think we've got a pretty good chance of coming into our 4-hourly EMA ribbons. Bear in mind, most of the time when we come into these EMA ribbons, we either hit the first fib or the second fib. In this case, we hit the third fib. Third fib. So it's really not often that we do something like this and pump all the way through or to the top of our EMA ribbon. So I'd probably say you'd be best off assuming the worst and then being grateful if we have the best. But like I said, at this moment in time, I really can't be too bullish on altcoins, and I'll talk about why towards the latter half of this video. And I'm also going to be posting a very, very important video. At the end of the day, you'll see it will be my last upload. I don't know what I'm going to name the video yet. I've already recorded it, but I'm going to be talking about when I plan on buying altcoins. I have a ton of messages on Twitter, Discord, all of that stuff. People ask me all the time, recently on Instagram quite a lot as well, people ask me, when am I buying altcoins? When is the right time? How do I think their altcoin is going to perform? And I'm basically going to sum up all of those questions in one video tonight, so look out for that. But in the short term, like I said, we're looking very bullish, and I really wouldn't be too surprised if we do converge up to this 4-hourly EMA. If we do so from the price that we are at this moment in time, you can see it'd be about a 8 to 9% pump, approximately a 9% pump, let's just round it up. So what happens if we do manage to break above 82 cent? Well, it's unfortunately not as simple as just saying, you know, we pump above this, we go to the moon, because you can see, you know, if we do manage to pump up to the third fib, which is something that, oh, this is the fourth fib, but I meant the third fib in from the short-term moving average, then we could potentially have a 24% pump. But I'm moreover expecting a macro move to the downside, so I wouldn't be too worried about a short-term move. For example, I'm really not going to trade this. I think the risk to reward ratio, I slaughtered that. The risk to reward ratio. I have such a hard time pronouncing that, but yeah, I think the risk to reward ratio on this trade is a little bit too high for me. For example, if you do break above 82 cent rather, it'd be nice if it was at $82, then you've still got to compete with the candle body close of the breakdown of the M pattern at 84 cent. And then after you break above 84 cent, you know, you could make a trade. I'd say you're pretty clear from 84 to 85 cent, but then you've only got about a 10% move up until you collide with the 92 to 93 cent. If you do take out 92 to 93, the next major level would be your 1.618 up here. And also this very, very nicely lines up with $1. We've got this big green box. Well, this was green a couple of weeks ago, but now we're going to have to mark it red as resistance, because obviously now we've broken below it. We actually bounced back into this twice and made an M pattern, lower high, M pattern broke down from it. So I wish I could come on this video and say, you know, we're short-term bullish and this is the trade that I'm going to be taking, but I just think there's way too much risk in this. Like I said, you know, you can trade from now, but then you've only got a 9% trade, and then you could trade from there, but from that breakout, you've really only got a 3% move. From that breakout, I'd say this is your best bet if you really are looking for like a trade, you're desperate to trade an alt. Then if you do have a solid break above 85 cent, and I don't mean a big wick like this and then you enter as we're pumping through, I mean a big push up above 85 cents supported by an increase in volume down here, and then you'd want to see the back test of 85 and then start to push up. Once you back test and start to push up, that would be where you make a trade. If you're going to have a stop loss, have it down at 80 cent, where the 4-hourly EMA ribbons are. That's about a almost a 5% stop loss down to the downside, with about a 7.5% trade to the upside. So if you're trading this on a 10x leverage, you could lose about 46 to 47% of your position if you lose this, if you're running a tight stop loss, or you could gain about 75 to 76% if you're using a 10x leverage to the top. And like I said, I really like making trades that are at least 2 to 1 risk to reward ratio, meaning that, hypothetically, let's say if this was coming up at 8%, I would really only want to risk like 4%, and then, you don't have much to hold you up down there. So like I said, for that reason, I really wish I could come on and say there's a very clear-cut trade, and if you take this, then it's guaranteed, but there's obviously no guarantees in crypto, and it just seems like there's a lot of overhead resistance for Green Satoshi token. If we do, for some magical reason, manage to pump above 84 cent, like I said, you've got a pretty good run up to the next level, which once again is coming in at approximately 91 cent. After 91 though, you've got resistance at the psychological level of $1. After $1, you've got resistance at the 1.618 fib, and then by the time you get up there, you're also going to have resistance from the long-term moving average. You're probably going to have resistance from the 13 EMA coming in there as well. So unfortunately, at this moment in time, there is not a trade that I would be looking at taking for Green Satoshi token. I really only take risk to reward ratio trades that are 2 to 1 or more, and there's nothing like that I see panning out in the charts right now. So I would be sitting on the sidelines. I find it much more likely that we could move up to 84, maybe this moving average here about 91, but I really don't expect us to get too much higher than that. And then the second fact of the matter is, how is Green Satoshi token performing against Bitcoin? Because I've been saying I believe a lot of these altcoins are still going to underperform Bitcoin when Bitcoin has its bounce. And you can see today, we're going to jump into GST against Bitcoin in a second, but the Bitcoin dominance is having a tear. This is literally mooning on the daily time frame. Look at this. I'm going to talk about this in a later video tonight, titled The Bitcoin Dominance. So like I said, if you want my full views on the Bitcoin dominance, I will be uploading a separate video on that a little bit later on. This obviously pretty much directly correlates, almost directly correlates with what happens in the altcoin market. So bear in mind, if the Bitcoin dominance moves above 47.67, then your altcoins are probably going to get slaughtered. And that's what we're predominantly seeing today. Bitcoin is pretty much outperforming altcoins. If we look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin's up approximately 5% on the day. If we look at the Green Satoshi token is up 6% on the day. So while Green Satoshi token is looking good, it's about 100 times riskier than Bitcoin, and on the daily it only has outperformed Bitcoin by 1%. And you might be thinking, well, you know, if it outperformed Bitcoin by 1%, then why would I not want to take that extra risk in order to, you know, buy altcoins instead of Bitcoin? Well, let's look at how Green Satoshi token's performing against Bitcoin in the long term. Unfortunately, we still do not have a proper GST BTC chart, and I search this every day. There's actually one on Bittrex, but look at how gangly and horrible this chart is over on Bittrex. Like, look at this. This is horrible. This is basically unchartable unless you zoom out to the weekly time frame, and then even on the weekly time frame, it's just completely broken. There's just, you know, crazy wicks and stuff absolutely everywhere. So I don't know what Bittrex is doing. However, I really don't want to do TA on a chart like that. So what we'll be doing is unfortunately going over to CoinMarketCap and looking at how Green Satoshi token's performing against Bitcoin. By the way, if you ever have an altcoin and you don't find a Bitcoin chart for it, you can simply come over to CoinMarketCap, scroll down. So for example, here we've got the GST token over on Solana. Scroll down, unselect the USD, or keep it if you want both, and tick Bitcoin, and then you can see how GST is performing against Bitcoin. Now, first thing off the bat that I would like to note is that all the way up at the peak here, one Green Satoshi token was equivalent to 0.0002 of a Bitcoin. Where are we right now? We're at 0.00002. So, you know, we've added another zero. We're down, you know, 90% against Bitcoin, which is not a good thing, meaning that if you held Green Satoshi token pretty much at any point in time, because bear in mind, look at this, I'm clicking on the all-time chart, look at the lows down here, basically around the 12th of the 22nd, 2021, this is where it minted. It minted at 0.00002, and we've already wiped out all of the gains we've made against Bitcoin. And if we come over to the USD pair, you can actually see we've already capitulated below the lows over on the USD pair. And this is something that I've highlighted before. If we come over to the weekly time frame, we are in price discovery to the downside. You know, if I put this on the inverse chart, it would actually look like a V-shaped recovery to the moon. So you can see here, you know, previous all-time high, V-shaped recovery, boom, to the moon. So this looks like a bullish chart to me, but unfortunately this is the inverse chart, so it's more likely that we're going to head to the downside before we do start to head up on Green Satoshi token. I know it seems like I'm trolling. I always put the inverse chart over on cryptos that are in price discovery to the downside, but I do it for a very good reason, because a lot of people, not a diss or anything, but I know, for example, myself, when I was an early crypto trader, I was an emotional investor. The hardest part about becoming a good trader, a good investor, a good swing trader, whatever you want to be, all of those are different. Whether you're trading in the short-term swings or whether you're a long-term investor, you need to separate your emotions from the charts. At this moment in time, I operate like a robot. I look at the charts, even if it's a crypto that I love. If it looks bearish, I'm pretty much able to do that. But I know a lot of people may look at these charts and want to see something bullish, so inverting the chart kind of tricks your brain. Your brain is so used to looking at a chart, you know, one way, that when you invert it, it's like you've got a different perspective on it, and you don't necessarily associate it with the same crypto. So, you know, for example, like XRP, if you put the inverse chart for XRP, it looks very, very bullish, but I'm not going to jump into that. That's outside of the scope of this video. Like I said, at this moment in time, I really find it hard to believe that Green Satoshi token could get above around 84 to 92 cents. So with that being said, I do think it is probably better to hedge our bets to the downside and sit on the sideline. That being said, I really do think we've got a good chance of having about a 10% pump, but you know, like I said, if you want to take this trade, you can. I'm saying I think this is going to go up 10%, but I'm also saying that what I'm very, very confident in is that in the macro term, we're going to move down to lower price targets, and that's what I've been predicting for the past couple of weeks. You know, this was just one recent trade, but we were calling for a 60% move down. This was a couple days before we made the trade yesterday, where we called that we were going to basically come down here, and that's what we did. We're down 36% since I called that we were going to move down, which is great to see. if you've been watching my green Satoshi token videos and like myself, you've been sitting on the sideline waiting for a reversal sign, waiting for an entry point, then congratulations, because obviously we're getting a lot cheaper prices than people that have been, you know, buying the dip. Even if you bought the exact bottom on the dips down here, you're pretty much at the same price that we are now. So GST against Bitcoin, it really does not look good to me at this moment in time. While the Bitcoin dominance is going on a bull run, I really can't recommend touching altcoins. And like I said, I'm going to make an extensive video on why that is later. I'm going to talk about why you shouldn't buy alts now, when you should expect to buy alts, when to expect that the bottom for the alts is going to be in, and when I personally plan on buying alts. I'm going to talk about all of that in that video, and I'm also going to talk about a swing trade I have for altcoins when I do think the bottom is in later. So that's pretty much all I've got for green Satoshi token. Of course, as I'm wrapping this video up, it looks like we are having a massive move to the downside. On the 1 hourly time frame, you can just see that basically 39,000 green Satoshi tokens were sold. Let's head over to the 1 minute time frame. Wow. This was pretty much all in the past couple of minutes. 19,000 sold, 12,000 sold, and this is why I'm saying, you know, based on the chart analysis that we did, I don't find it out of the blue that we could move up to 84 cent, but my big gut feeling is that we are going to be moving down to 48 cent. I've been predicting that for a while. I still think that's going to pan out. Best of luck if you are trading this. Like I said, I really think it's very risky to trade this right now, so I'm going to leave it alone. That's all I've got for green Satoshi token. See you in tomorrow's update. All I've got for today, as always, Cowboy out. Peace.